welcome back to my channel. Today I am joined by the lovely Christina. We've done a collab together before and I've been really excited to do another video with you. Today we're going to be talking all things low-buy, no-buy minimalism. So we had you guys send over a bunch of questions on each of our Instagrams, and we're just gonna dig into a handful of those and just do a super chilled chat about intentional spending.
Yay, we love it. Thank you for having me again. So much fun, so cool, so nice to be back.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here again. Can't really imagine anyone better to have here on my channel than you for a chat about intentional spending. Like, I think you have so much valuable knowledge to share on that topic. I've definitely learned a lot from you. So as you guys know, by the start of this year, I actually started sort of a no-buy challenge. I did a low-buy challenge last year, so this year I kind of wanted to take it that one step further. It's definitely turned more into being a low-buy more than a complete shopping ban, so I guess that's really the difference between the two. A no-buy is when you keep yourself from shopping new clothes or shoes whatsoever. I've kind of kept it fashion focused for myself.
The one thing I feel like I personally had a hard time with no-buy in particular is that it was just I feel like it's very, very strict. So if you're like a personality type that like thrives off of cold turkey, like all or none, then I think a no-buy is actually probably very suited to that type of person. But it wasn't really a good long-term solution for me because I knew for me personally that I would either want to or have to buy something eventually. Like just like for you had some replacements to buy and things like that. So I do think a low-buy is probably a more gentle way to do it.
I like that. I think it's more realistic and a more also long-term to do it like that. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, so like low-buy and no-buy, I mean, tell me how you feel about your own experience. Like, do you feel like you have a lot of guilt when you do end up buying something, even though I know I watched your no-buy video at the beginning of this year, and you even set that boundary of like, if I need to buy replacements or if I need to work with a brand, I'm allowing this. But do you find you still sort of felt bad, like a little twinge of like, oh?
I mean, there were a few things that I already had like on my list. For example, a pair of new black ankle boots. That was something that I kind of allowed myself to buy. I had a pair of long length jeans that I allowed myself to buy as well, because suddenly I just realized, okay, it's freezing cold, it's winter. I'm on the playground with my daughter and all I have are crop jeans. Like, I'm freezing. So I allowed myself to buy a few things like that. Yeah, so I guess sometimes I do feel a bit bad, but at the same time, like we just talked about this before going on camera, that I don't feel like I'm making major changes with my wardrobe. Like, I'm tweaking it here and there and just kind of leaving room to like let life be dynamic, because that's what it is, and that's why your wardrobe might change.
I think if you saved up for something, that is the best time to feel amazing about that purchase. Like, if you know you want something and you've set the intention and put in the time and effort and money into buying that thing that you've decided that you want. People consider buying things for your wardrobe and style to be this like sort of frivolity, but for many of us, it's something that brings us joy. It's our outlet. It's what we have fun with. So I think just, you know that you've put that time, that energy, that thought into it, and especially that money, like it wasn't an impulse buy, we didn't go into debt for it, is something that you can fully enjoy guilt-free because that intention and that boundary was set behind it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and especially I like the fact that you mentioned, that many people feel like style and fashion is so superficial and they couldn't be more off. Like, it's definitely for me, I can feel like my confidence is boosted. I feel like I'm more productive, and that's really one of the amazing things about fashion. I think for me, like, just again, because I decided to take it that step further this year. Last year I did a low buy and I sort of tracked everything that I bought that year. Have been tracking my purchases this year, and I can already say that I'm doing a lot better this year. I feel like I've done this ever since I started my channel, and ever since I started practicing more intentional spending, especially when it comes to shopping and style. But I feel like I have learned to look a bit more inwards. Like, you always look outwards for inspiration, but I've definitely looked more at my own like previous favorite outfits from previous seasons, and like sort of focused more on myself than just always looking outwards. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I've learned this year.
For me, it ultimately stems from, why do you want to do this in the first place? Why do you want to either stop shopping completely or do a low buy, which I think is, again, a little bit more balanced, long-term, sustainable approach to shopping and adding things to your wardrobe. But the ultimate thing for me is the why. So when I first I did a no buy and then sort of turned it into low buy because I couldn't adhere to a no buy. It was just a little too challenging and too stoic for me. But for me, my initial why was getting out of debt and to overcome or like get control of my impulsive shopping habits. I was an impulse buyer and I would just emotionally spend all the time. So for me, I was like sick and tired of being in that debt, and that became a really great motivator for me for a long time. So I think, and nowadays it's more like, now I kind of know what size of wardrobe works for me. I know when I start to feel really overwhelmed, and I can kind of tell when I'm like shopping as like an emotional response versus shopping to, you know, like add to my wardrobe in a way that I think is going to be fun and abundant in a long term. So I think making sure you really know what your why is and why you're doing it, and to make sure that you're not committing to it as a form of punishment for like previous bad spending. Because I think a lot of us do a no buy or a low buy initially because we are upset with ourselves and like think that we need to rein something in. And even I did when I first started.
Yeah, it's more about figuring out what kind of value will doing a low buy actually add to my life instead, and sort of shift your focus. I think you should start with this one.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I should say heck yeah, you do. I definitely feel strongly that you do need a clothing budget. However you want to do it, but you have to know where that money's coming from. You have to know how you're paying for this thing so that the thing that you end up buying is not turning into a burden by the time the bill comes. I think, you know, many of us here are previous impulse buyers or just like prone to impulse buying and emotional spending, and like with a clothing budget, at least, you know, you have a set amount of money that you know is free for that piece of clothing that you want. You may not know necessarily what you want to buy yet, but if you have that budget set out, then if you do spend that money, it's guilt-free, baby, and you're not going into debt for it. And that's where, for me personally, I was going into debt and staying in debt for fashion, for stuff. And, you know, when I bought the thing, I thought, oh, like I can go to all these fabulous places and I'm gonna look so cool and great and I'm building my beautiful wardrobe. But ultimately, all of those things ended up being a buyer's remorse item and became more of a burden than anything else, especially financially, because I didn't have the money to pay for it. And I was pushing back other aspects of my life in the name of clothing that I didn't have the money to pay for. And for me personally, I find clothing to be something that I get joy out of, and I want to keep the purchase joyful by knowing that I didn't compromise anything else when I bought that thing.
I don't have a budget. Like, I keep track of what I buy, and then I sort of like, you know, I look back when we reach the end of the year, how have my like spending habits been, and I sort of analyze looking at my like spending over the year like that, and sort of try to tweak it. So I don't have like a set budget. You know, my wish list, it's not like I have a long wish list. I will find a few gaps within my wardrobe, and then that will kind of be what I'm allowed to buy when there's room in my budget for it. So I guess I kind of navigate a bit differently, but I could definitely like benefit, I think, from trying like a real budget. Like, maybe that's the thing that I should do next year.
Well, to be honest, I think the way you do it is also perfectly fine too. And sometimes but either way, I think it's having the intention, knowing what you want to buy, and just ultimately knowing where that money is coming from.
Even last year, like doing the low buy, and then this year trying to challenge myself even more, it's given me a lot more time to think about, you know, a purchase before I buy it. So I think again, that's just a different way of doing a budget to give yourself more time, because sometimes you'll put something on your wish list thinking that I really need this item, or I really have this gap in my wardrobe, I really need this one piece to make the rest function better. And then, 1 month or 2 months will pass, and then you'll figure, okay, well, I don't actually really need that item anyway. So I think, keeping a budget is definitely something that I would feel intrigued to try myself, but I think like also just giving yourself more time to think about something before you purchase it, to find out, is that still lingering in my mind, or can I do without it? I think we briefly covered it, but to me, again, because life is dynamic, your wardrobe will always be a product of your life and your lifestyle. That's how it should be. So your wardrobe will never be 100% static. It will always be dynamic. So I think that feeling of always wanting that one more thing, it will never completely go away. Especially if you're someone who enjoys style, enjoys fashion, and someone who loves expressing yourself through fashion, I think that feeling will always be there. So I think it's very much about, again, figuring out how you can sort of navigate through that in a way that is more intentional and also more sustainable. So we can swap, or we can rent, or we can buy secondhand. There are different ways that we can try and pursue that way of keeping a dynamic wardrobe. So to me, I don't think it's ever gonna disappear, and I think that's also something I've realized by doing the no buy. It feels too static, it feels too strict for me. It's not like I want to change my entire style or my entire wardrobe. Like when I look back just 5 or 10 years from now, there's so many items that I were drawn to then, and looks that I were drawn to then, that I'm still drawn to today. So in that sense, a lot of my wardrobe and my style pretty much always stays the same, but it's nice to leave out some space to be more creative. And again, life changes, your body changes, you get a new job, you change your taste. It's all natural, and it's all part of life, I think.
I totally agree. And I think the other thing too is like, there will always be something to want, but I think within all of that wanting, we forget about what we have right now. And I think that's also one of the main keys with low buy. I think we're always so focused on what we're allowed versus not allowed to buy, what to want next. If I buy this, I'm gonna fail. But like, what about what we have right now? Like, is there a way that we can cultivate abundance and joy in what we have today? Like, we bought all those things that we own now for a reason, and likely with, at least it was for me a lot of the times, with a lot of the shopping that I was doing before, like none of this was getting used. I wasn't playing around with it, and I kept trying to find the answer in more stuff rather than just spending time with my actual wardrobe. And that's one of the things, like doing YouTube and doing like fashion YouTube has been a huge game changer for me when it comes to getting to know even my personal style, because by like creating videos and like doing daily outfits, I was spending time with my wardrobe. So that was something that I was doing a lot when I wasn't shopping. And I think anybody can do that. Like, you don't need to have a YouTube channel, even if you just like take a selfie every day, or like start an album in your phone of just daily outfits.
I think this is a very valid question, and I think, again, an inevitable part of life for many people. And I feel like this is definitely one of the places where you need to be more flexible and more kind to yourself, because it's, it happens. And to me, like, life is just too short to wear uncomfortable clothes. Like, either get it altered. I just had 2 pairs of jeans that I took to, we have a really good tailor downtown, took them to get them altered, because I feel like post-pregnancy, even though it's been 2 years, my body's still changing. I'm still struggling with especially jeans and pants fits. Like, I can't really seem to find that perfect fit. And what felt comfortable before just doesn't feel comfortable anymore. So I guess for me, like, what I've done personally and what I advise my clients to do is to, again, either if you have the possibility, if you have room for it in your budget, to get the clothes that you already have altered. Or you could store away, like if you have a weight that tends to change, you can store away clothing in different sizes, and so that you have something that you can switch between.
I definitely agree. I used to feel like if you're not wearing it, or if you haven't worn it in the last 6 months, then get rid of it. But I definitely have changed my mind about that, because it's not sustainable or affordable to like have to replace your wardrobe all the time with with like body changes and lifestyle changes. So I fully agree. If you have clothes already that, and I mean, even like as women, our bodies can change like throughout the month, so
just by having your period.
So it's like, if you have clothes that are more for when your body is a certain size or you're feeling a certain way, if you don't wear it all the time, still I think it's great to hold on to and to have in storage. Or even just like, we don't all have to be wearing like jeans all the time, right? So do you have like adjustable clothing or like joggers or drawstrings or like more comfy clothes that can pass off, or that are really versatile in the sense of like you can dress them up and dress them down, so that way the clothes are like more malleable to your body as it changes, especially with those like fluctuations over time.
Yeah, I think that's something that we both make content about like regularly on each of our platforms, especially like the whole like shopping your wardrobe. I think that's something that we both enjoy. And I think many creators enjoy that. I think many people in general enjoy this. Like, for example, recreating street style. That's one of my favorite ways to not get bored of my wardrobe, and to, even though it's little tweaks, like it might be an outfit that I've somehow worn before, but then it could be a pair of different shoes or just like wearing a different like layer underneath a blazer. I feel like recreating street style is a really fun way of like shopping your wardrobe and creating new outfits. I love a virtual wardrobe app as well, specifically those that can create like automatic outfits for you, because then you don't need to think and you're very likely to see some new combinations that you wouldn't have thought about otherwise. So whenever I need like quick outfit inspiration on the go, I'll always turn to like Pinterest or Open Wardrobe, basically, just to see how can I create new outfits. Yeah, and I guess sometimes you do get bored, like sometimes you do find, one item that you feel like you're missing, or there might be something that you're not really wearing. So I think that you'll never completely avoid that feeling of getting bored, but I think it's very much about figuring out how to use that as fuel to be more creative with what you already have, I guess.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think also it's like, I feel like boredom with our wardrobe can it kind of turns into another form of wanting, where it's like, I'm unsatisfied with what I have, I'm discontent with what I have, so I better go find more somewhere else. There's like always something better. And for me personally, when I get really bored with my wardrobe, the thing that I go to look to add is never some crazy departure from like what's already in there. Like for me, I love my duplicate dressing. So it's like, so I'm super bored with my wardrobe. The most out there thing I'm going to go for is like a color versus black or something like that. So it's never really, and it's fun. It's fun to experiment, and I think it's fun to be mindful with that. So if you are truly bored and just like frustrated with your wardrobe, and you're like, I've tried making outfits, I've tried shopping it, I'm just sick of it, I want to freshen something up. I think that's when you can use low buy and mindful spending and budgeting and your wish list to add something that feels exciting and feels fun. But for me, whenever I am looking to add something new, it's never anything like too outside of the box from what I already have. That's just like a personal pattern I've noticed within myself. So like you said, like where's that boredom coming from? Is it just like feeling like a lack of having something, or is it just I'm just not spending enough time playing around with things? Yeah, there's definitely like a huge difference between like being bored and being frustrated with your wardrobe. Like is your wardrobe not working, or do you just need some inspiration on how to put stuff together? Yeah. Do you maybe need to like weed out like who you're following on social media, or following people who are making you feel like less of yourself? Like maybe try to figure out like what triggers you and go through that, instead of like you say always like just translating the boredom into wanting more stuff, because what we want is highly likely to already be in our wardrobe. So we just need to figure out how to actually wear what we have. We all have those little gadgets and things that they don't really belong in a category. Like if you've done KonMari, like we did KonMari some years ago,
those little things that don't really fit into a category, they all just end up in a pile in some drawer, like, and that it's okay that that drawer is messy, like that's just how it is. We definitely have a few of those in our house. And then also, like, I live with, you know, my partner, my husband. He is like, he's gotten more into minimalism after he met me, and we did the whole KonMari experience together, and he really like saw like the value of doing it and decluttering your home, because essentially it means that you have less that you need to take care of and less that you need to clean and all that stuff. But it's definitely harder for him. It doesn't come as natural for him that it does for me. So I feel like it's also about like being flexible to your partner, the person that you're living with. People are always like on Instagram when I do stories, they're like, how do you keep your house so clean and tidy when you have a 2-year-old? And like, I don't. Like, it's 90% of the time it's a mess.
Yeah, look at this corner behind me.
Yeah, exactly. So I try to be really like open and honest, and I also show the imperfect pictures sometimes. But I think the reason why it looks tidy is because we kind of reset, and I've tried to incorporate the KonMari thinking into my new life as a mom. So everything has its place. Of course, it doesn't always stay like that, but things have their place. So in the evening when she's sleeping, I can sort of reset and just like enjoy the calm for myself, because I really appreciate like a tidy home, but that doesn't mean it's perfect all the time. It's far from it. But yeah, I think it's about like figuring out how you can combine the best of both worlds.
I totally agree. Yeah, for me, it's funny that you say that your husband wasn't as much of like a natural minimalist, because Jeff, my partner, and I were kind of the opposite. Like for me, it's not, minimalism is not a natural tendency. It's something that I have to work on, and that like, you know, I like leave like scrunchies and hair ties and like things are sort of left places. And so it's like a habit that I have to try to stay on top of, and he's very good at reminding me. But yeah, you know, clutter is okay. Embrace it. I think it's just having a system of like what to do with it if it feels overwhelming, and a system of what to do with it when you feel like it's building up, like, you know, having a place for things, as you say. Yeah.
Clutter is okay, as long as it's like, you know, clutter that's in use, if that makes sense. Like clutter that is like just the like hoarding, like a lot of stuff that you've just like invited into your home that you shouldn't have invited in the first place. That's a whole different story. But everyday clutter is part of life. Like that's, yeah, just how it is. Right, so I think that is all of the questions that we're gonna do today. I feel like we can go on forever, so maybe we should do a part 2 at some point. But
should we do nice. Do we need a podcast?
Yeah, I think, yeah, shouldn't we maybe just start a podcast? I even feel like this video, you could just totally put it on like a podcast. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
And I can't wait for a next collab.
Me too. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me.
So on Christina's channel, I will be doing a color consultation on her, a virtual color consultation. So if you guys are intrigued to see how that might go and what color type Christina is, then definitely head on over to her channel. I will link the video down below, so definitely go watch that. I think it was quite fun. Don't forget to follow Christina. I will link her channels, her YouTube and her Instagram. She has quite a cool TikTok as well, which I'll link down below. So definitely go give her a follow. And with that, thank you all so much for watching. Really appreciate it as always, and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye guys.
Bye.